From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. I have a guest on today whose name is MJ. I know MJ through TikTok. She is an amazing creator amongst many other things, which you will hear about, but she is an amazing creator on TikTok and mainly speaks to Gen X women. MJ DM'd me back in August of 2023 to ask me a question that I have encountered so many times. And the question had to do with, when I look at a woman and I find her attractive, how do I know if I'm feeling desire for her or if I am desiring being more like her? Like, do I like her or do I want to be like her? And I have done content on this in the past. It is such a common question. And boy, it can be really confusing. So our connection started there back in 2023. And we have gone back and forth a few times over the years with MJ asking me different questions. And I thought she would be a great person to have on the podcast and do some unboxing and lean into some of her curiosity and some of the places that are keeping her stuck from being able to really live her most authentic version of herself. So thanks for being here. Hello and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. Today I have a special guest and her name is MJ. MJ is somebody that I came across on TikTok, I'm going to say 3 years ago at least. And the content that you have on TikTok is always very enlightening and always just so well said and has really got me thinking so many times. And I thought you'd be a great guest to have on today. So welcome to the show.
I'm super excited to talk to you. This will be fun. My name's MJ Eldridge, and I have been on TikTok for maybe 4 or 5 years total. It started as me trolling my kids, essentially. I'm very hardcore when it comes to my bucket list, and I have kind of like bucket list rules, which are like, it can't be something you can buy, like a vacation or like a car or an outfit or something. It has to be some kind of achievement. So my bucket list was always like, I'm going to be a published author. I am going to have patented products. I'm going to be in a band. I'm going to do stand-up. And so like I had slowly done all of those things like throughout my kids' life. And so I told them during COVID, I was like, you know what? Now I'm going to be TikTok famous. And they're like, okay, this is one thing you cannot control. We are not buying it. And so I was like, you watch,
Oh
your mom. And so anyway, I just started making TikToks, and this one guy, ex-patriarch, he had asked this question, like, how did you feel about being married or whatever to women who are divorced? And that had been a lot of what I was talking about. And so I answered his question in a stitch, and that video got like 1.5 million views.
Wow.
And I remember my old boss at the time, she texts me overnight and she's like, you're going viral. And I was like, of course, she would tell me like as if I didn't know. Like, I was like, she feels the need to tell me. And so that happened. And then, and this was, I hate to say, it was kind of like in the heyday of TikTok. I kind of feel like, like, everything has really fallen off in the last year. I still make content. I developed this following of women who, are all great. Most of them are Gen X like us. Mm-hmm. They've been married. They're divorced. Mm-hmm. I would say from the replies I get and stuff, most women are over 50, over mm-hmm. 40 for sure. I have a lot of women in other countries who are in their 60s and 70s and stuff who are very active online. And so After the election last year, I started making more content explaining tariffs and stuff because of the nature of my job. I am the head of operations and product development for a startup, and this is my fourth startup. I've been doing this for 20 something years. And I do have a few men who follow me, but then they'll be scrolling, I guess, and come across a video where I'm being like a piece of shit. Sorry, can I swear on here?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Where I'm like, and you know what? Men need to quit watching so much porn. And then they're like, wait, I thought I was here for the nerd stuff.
Oh, I love it. Yes, I've heard your tariff
So yeah, I have a very
conversations.
weird audience of tariff nerds who hate Trump and like a bunch of women who just hate men.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also intelligently shared and said. And I know you respond to a lot of people's comments. I always see, you're speaking specifically to like somebody who left some comment.
Yeah, I try to. I want to educate people as much as I can on certain things, especially when I feel like the topics are nuanced or just hard to understand. Like a lot of this tariff stuff is just confusing to people. And why would you know? You don't do my job. Like you're not an importer, from another country. So like,
Yeah, that's
most
interesting
people
though. I
just
mean,
don't know.
that's definitely a different topic than where you started.
Yeah, it was a very
It's like a big switch.
wild
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
And it depends on what kind of mood I'm in, because the other thing with my videos too is that I don't edit. If I can't blurt it out in one take, I'm not doing filters. Like, I don't even know how. I guess this is my Gen X coming out. I'm like, I can't be bothered.
So, I mean, I love your stuff. Your stuff is great. So for anybody who's listening, definitely check out. Is it MJ Mommy? Is that?
Yeah, it's technically Inappropriate Mommy with an IE.
Okay. Inappropriate Mommy. Okay.
The reason why I'm Inappropriate Mommy is kind of funny. I'm Inappropriate Mommy everywhere, and I have been since my youngest was like 3 years old. I made that my handle because one day I was getting ready for work and I was standing in the living room in just like a bra and panties and ironing my shirt. And my youngest was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting ready for work. I'm, ironing my shirt." And she said, "You are a very inappropriate mommy."
Oh my God, that's
So I was
cute.
like, you know what? That's what I'll be. I'll be Inappropriate Mommy. And so that's how that started. But I think you can find me as like MJ aka Mommy, because after I started talking about the tariffs, I was like, maybe I should switch this up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I saw something that had changed. So yeah, that's what I was asking. So you've been married. You were married. You were
Yes.
divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship history.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about our chat a lot. And, so I'm 51. So I grew up, solidly mid Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely was like an OG pick me. I was boy crushing, cool girl. I was in the mosh pit. I knew how to snowboard. I was like, I'll make barbecue ribs. Like I was like, you will like me. And I was like that all through high school. I met my first husband, because I've been married twice. I met him very young. I was only 20. We worked together. And I thought he was really cute. I was already engaged. So I've been engaged 3 times. I'll back up a little bit. I grew up in a log cabin in the woods. I know that sounds very like Abe Lincoln, because it is, but I grew up in a log cabin in the woods that my dad built in rural Rhode Island, right?
Okay.
And so my parents were first generation Americans, were immigrants from Montreal. And so we were kind of very blue collar. I can't say that we were poor or whatever, but my parents were very much like, you're 18 and you're out. I had to work since I was 12 years old. Like I was washing dishes in a diner at 6:00 in the morning at 12 years old. And I definitely was like, I need to be partnered to be safe. Like I can't do this world on my own, because I had to pay for my own college. So it took me forever to graduate. Didn't graduate until I was like 28 years old, I think, because I had to like pay as I went. And so my boyfriend, when I was 19, we left Rhode Island. We moved out to New Mexico together. And then we moved to Denver, Colorado. It broke up the whole engagement like 6 weeks before the wedding was supposed to happen.
Oh, wow.
Because I thought my first husband was really cute. And I was like, I just can't get married to somebody if I think somebody else is really cute, you know? And but because this is Unbox Yourself, we're going to get into all like the nitty gritty that people don't know. So in between the time when I broke up my engagement and before I finally made my ex-husband date me, it was like the whole I kissed a girl land, you know? And so this is when I would like, you know, working at a restaurant, you know, making out with girls, like hooking up in threesomes, like all of these things that I'm saying out loud are like dirty little secrets that only my best friends know because I spent all this time married. And so it was fun, but terrifying is the best way to say it.
Was it coming from, I'm going to interrupt you. Was it coming from your curiosity, or was it like other people were interested and you were kind of willing? Like you were like, okay, you know, I'm interested in trying that out. Like, okay. Or was it more coming from like your curiosity?
So I will say that everything I've ever done sexually has always been from my curiosity. All the girls in my cohort growing up in high school, we were all raised super Catholic and whatever. And so I had sex for the first time the week before I turned 17. And I was by far the first out of my friends. And I was terrified. Oh my God, I was so scared of getting pregnant. I had like every bit of the CBS shoved up in there. I had foam, I had condoms, I had those like egg things that would dissolve. They had jelly. I was so scared. It must have been like a slip and slide.
That's hilarious.
And so I had to know what the deal was. You know, why does everybody talk about sex like it's the greatest thing on earth and everyone's obsessed with it? And I was also like a very advanced reader for all my life. So I was reading wildly inappropriate books, like from a very young age that had all the sex scenes. And I was the one in class who would dog ear the book, and pass it around to everybody. And I was just horny. And so when it came to all the dalliances I've ever had, I would say, and I thought about this a lot, how I would describe myself. I would say I'm an opportunistic hedonist. That's what I am. So if I'm at a party and people want to get down, I'm down. Or I'm often the aggressor, which is something that I've learned that I don't like to be that way, but we can get to that later.
And that word to me is like, I'd like to change that word to the initiator.
That's
right.
true.
Just because it's like the aggressor just has an energy about it that I don't know that it needs to have, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I like that better. Yeah.
Okay.
I still don't like it though. I don't like always being the initiator.
The initiator. Oh, that's so funny. I like being the initiator. So that's really funny. Okay. So you were the initiator.
Yes. And so whether it was, you know, threesome hookups, you know, with couples or whatever after work, you know, as always, because I worked in a restaurant at the time. And that's always like, okay, everybody's up until 3 a.m, you know, and we've all been having drinks and we're all young and started drinking. Why don't you come back to my apartment, you know?
Right. So lifestyle.
Listen to some CDs or something. And I was always like the one, hey, you want to check out my bedroom? Now that I think about it, it's really like, yeah, I was definitely that person. I was definitely that person with my ex-husband. And that honestly was a big killer in our relationship. I always felt like he settled for me because I was the initiator, such the aggressor. Like I really was. Like I felt like I forced him to date me, and then he just acquiesced because now is the time, like, oh, it's time for us to get married, because fast forward, I'm now uh 24, and we moved to Michigan together from Colorado. That's where he was from, and he was like ready to get married, and I'm here, like, and so I never caught up to that feeling. I never felt like he cared at all about who I was. I just didn't. No matter what he said, I didn't buy
So,
it.
yeah. And I'm so curious about this. So it felt like because you were the initiator, you were kind of pulling him. You had all this energy.
Mhm.
Like you said, you were the one that like everybody was going to love. Like you were baking the ribs, you were doing all the
Mhm.
stuff. Like you were a catch, and you were going to make him know that you were a catch and want
Mhm.
you, basically. That's kind of what you're
Oh my
saying?
God. I was the girl, like, let's pull over and fuck in this field. Let me give you roadhead. Let's do it like against this window. Like, I was like the one who was like, I'm gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
So it's undeniable, and I will be the one for you.
And so what do you think now? 'Cause now we're going back quite some time ago. Looking back at that, what were you wanting? Like what was that energy kind of trying to get? What were you trying to fulfill in you through that?
I think I was definitely just trying to be picked, first of all.
Because
And
if you were picked,
then it would mean I was attractive. So I was a very bullied, fat, goofy looking child. And I forgot to mention that at the start. So I do think that every perfect pick me comes from the primordial ooze of the combination of oh my God. And I was nerdy and smart on top of it. And I had a big mouth. Like, I couldn't have been worse when it comes to what the patriarchy wants a woman to be.
yes.
And I was also very tall for my age. I stopped growing when I was like 12, but I was 5'7" by the time I was 12.
Mhm.
So I was like, the world let me know how unattractive I was.
Okay.
And so I had to work hard, I felt.
Okay. So all this energy was to really prove that you were attractive and you
Mhm.
were valuable essentially
Mhm.
through your attractiveness.
Yes, because I did clock very early that that was the only valuable thing to be.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Very
to be
true.
of use and to
Mhm.
be attractive.
Mhm. And I'm just curious, like, did you have any of that in your family of origin as well? Like, did you see that kind of played out in your parents or not so much with them, just more in your social surroundings, in your community, in school, friends, stuff like that?
I definitely think that it was just more back then. It was just like, this is how it is. Like, my mom stayed at home until I was about 10 years old. My dad would like give her shit if she gained 5 pounds, or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
But I think it was more just a story that was obvious to me, and the way I was treated is the better way to say it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think so. I was
Okay.
very bullied. That's the Not
Yeah.
by my parents. My
No.
my my parents were great, but yeah.
Okay. And you were an only child?
No, I have a brother. And so my brother is younger, and he was a beautiful boy. He was like a skinny little perfect brown bean of a baby with long eyelashes and just beautiful, and everybody would comment on how beautiful he was all the time. But then when we would go out to, like, my dad belonged to like a townsman's club, and guys would, because my mom cut all my hair off, whatever, I had super short hair, and the guys would be like, oh, Doc, I didn't know you had two sons, like shit like that. It sucked.
Yeah.
And so I think I hyper feminized myself and
Mhm.
like just performed for the male gaze.
Yes.
I'm a beautiful woman. See me as a beautiful woman. Please, God, let me be a beautiful woman. You
Yes,
know?
yes. So I mean, really, so I could be worthy and valuable, right? And feel
Yeah.
worthy and valuable. So you were like wanting all that from him, and he was not able to really fulfill that.
No, I definitely think he wanted to mirror his parents' relationship in a lot of ways where it was like, I am husband, you are wife, and this is how we need to behave together, and very much like if I would ask him how I looked or whatever, he'd say, stop fishing for compliments. Like it was always like that. It was like, I married you. That is your single stamp of approval that you get
Oof.
for all eternity,
Okay.
and we went to couples counseling. We were married for 11 years. And we have 2 kids. And I will say I definitely feel that I tried, but ultimately, like, we had one therapist who was like, people either grow together like this or they grow like this.
Yeah.
And this is definitely what we were doing anyway. We ended up over time having a lot of political disagreements and stuff because I grew and I learned and I changed my mind about many things,
Mhm.
as I developed, and he stayed he stayed on his track and doubled down. So yeah.
Okay. So you guys made it 11 years, and
hmm
then you went back all in again for another
Yeah.
marriage?
Well, no, so we got divorced, and then I went on a hedonism escapade, like, for a good 5 years. I dated everyone. I went to sex parties. I literally explored and did it all.
Okay.
And
What did you
and
find
I
in all of that? Like, what did you find in all of that?
so at the time, my kids were little. They were 5 and 4 when we actually got divorced. And so they were real little. And I had also told myself um that I had just picked wrong, right? When I was younger. I was too young. I met my ex when I was 20 years old. Like, what did I know? And everybody tells you, oh, you just picked. It's always your fault. And I was like, I'm gonna pick better this time. I'm gonna marry somebody for love. And as I'm going, through all of this in my mind, I was just like, fucking date everyone. Because also for most of the years of our marriage, because I had also had 2 babies back to back, I never wanted any sex whatsoever. I was like,
Mhm.
I went from this hedonistic person who was, making out with everyone I could get my hands on, doing threesomes, having fun, whatever, to being completely dead inside.
Mhm.
And I would go to the gynecologist and he would be like, oh, it's just your hormones. Like, and I was thinking it was just my hormones and whatever. It wasn't that. No, I feel horrible and I want to have sex with this person. But I would like make myself do it, and then I would cry after. That was
Mm.
that was like a whole this story that I'm telling you is so many women's stories.
Mhm.
All like anytime I make a video or anytime I talk about this portion, it's so many women.
Yeah, I mean, I
Women are
felt
just
like that too. I felt
wow.
similarly.
Is it because you were deep down attracted to women, or also was your marriage like unsatisfying?
The marriage was unsatisfying in terms of like a friendship. Like we were really good life partners. Like the business of life, we did really well together. We bought places, sold places, like we did all the stuff well. If you're going to call that like the business of life, like raising the kids and like managing all that stuff, that we did well. We also worked together. He was my boss. That was where I met him. I was
Oh,
24. I was 24 and he was 40. So,
okay.
so there was this way that we met and we knew how to work together, which literally we knew how to work together from work.
Mhm.
And so we both are big accomplishers. So we accomplished a lot together. The friendship piece was really like never there in the way that I wanted it to be and in the way that I had with my girlfriends. So I
Mhm.
had like these deep, deep connections with my girlfriends that I just couldn't get with him at all. And so there was like really very little like intimacy, not even romantic intimacy, but like friendship intimacy. And he also traveled a lot. So he was away like 4 months out of the year on and off. So I was super lonely, and then like the sexual piece also just really did not land for me. And, can I say, I mean, look, I've had guys that I have had great sex with. So, and I've been turned on. So, I identify as a lesbian today and I have no desire to date men. And when you have the spectrum of sexuality and fluidity, like I wouldn't be at the furthest end of like, I mean, today I have no desire, but like I did actually enjoy sex with some men. With him, not so much. And was that because I was having babies? I had twins first and then I had another one. Was it the hormones? I don't know. But when you say you felt dead inside, oh my God, I was so dead. Like I died. I totally died inside. And I would feel like crying too afterwards. And it was horrific. Like what I had to get myself, like how to even like cheer myself into making it happen was like so much work. Yeah. So I relate. And this is absolutely so many women's stories. And also, I just want to say, like, even with lesbian relationships, sex can also be problematic for lesbians. And they call it lesbian bed death, but, I think bed death can happen and does happen everywhere. I don't know why it's been pinned just on lesbians. Yeah, I treat couples too. I see plenty of couples who are straight and they are not having sex. I mean, there's many factors to why we can feel dead inside and it feels like so much work, including like the health of the relationship and then also medical stuff and hormones and all of that. So it's complicated, but I relate.
I definitely think that, and this is my own Roman Empire these days, I just think constantly about how we only have ever seen the world through a man's lens about everything, whether it comes to what you've learned to become a therapist or what medical doctors know or what scientists know or whatever. It's everything. The way we even talk is just like a male lens. So I was talking the other day to a friend who had just learned the term sapiosexual, which basically means that you have to be intellectually attracted to somebody in order to have sex with them. And I'm like, I think all of these terms, whether it's sapio or demi or ace or whatever, they're all just made up by men who are just ready to bang at all times. So they're like, if you are not ready to bang like
totally.
right now, you have a disease. You're a sapiosexual. You have to be attractive.
Yes.
And in reality, all that is just how people are. Like it is weird. Like for, I would say most women, listen, I don't know a single woman who would walk up to a man, no matter who he was, and just drop trowel. Like the straightest woman on earth is not, she's going to have some other kind of connection. But since we live in this world where it's like patriarchy and everything we know is told to us by men, we feel like it's weird that I had to work so hard to get turned on by my husband. Why didn't I just like want to, have sex? He wants to have sex with me. Why don't I just want to have sex with him? And then you internalize that and then you feel guilty.
Broken.
And then you lie. But like lying there crying, they're just proving you right because they'll do it to you even if you're crying,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely, after we got divorced, I blew through the entire state of Michigan, men and women both. And like I said, I went to sex parties. I did stuff like that. I never actually dated. A woman. Because here is the thing, and this is really why I was so excited to talk to you. I have never been in a situation with any woman ever where I wasn't the initiator, where I wasn't the aggressor, where again, I got that deep feeling of she's just going along with this. Or maybe we're both just a little too drunk. Or, like, oh, maybe I scared her. You know what I mean? Like it must be like, I'm going to actually feel something for a man for half a second. Like it must be hard to have to be the initiator all the time and like not know. But I think that my worldview would be wildly different if ever a woman I found attractive had come on to me. Like
Yeah.
that's not happened one time in my life.
Were you
And
in these situations in these 5 years where you were just like, getting it all everywhere? Were you in like lesbian bars, or were you just like where were you? Where were these women coming
oh,
from?
so a lot of these like different sex parties and stuff were all like swingers events where people can bring a woman, right? Like they're not allowed to bring a man, like a couple can bring a woman. So that I would go do that. I never and maybe this is strange, I never felt it to be appropriate for me to go to like a lesbian bar or anything like that because I just felt like it would be rude of me to be doing an experiment that would involve the feelings of other people.
Yeah, look, I meet so many women who are trying to figure this out and are in that position of I'm trying to figure this out and learn about myself, right? And so
Hmm.
like there needs to be some way of learning about yourself, but I think that it's okay to go to a lesbian bar where if you were to meet somebody where you're just honest, where you're just like, I really want to explore this side of myself and just be honest about it because then the other person has the agency to say, I'm into that or that doesn't really work for me, but at least they can make a choice and you are honest and then you can figure this stuff out.
Yeah, I think maybe I love women so much. And I think my level of respect and not wanting to ever hurt somebody's feelings, like a man, like fuck a man, like whatever. Like I never felt that way where I never thought about like necessarily breaking somebody's heart or whatever, because I also know that they don't care that way about women too much. You know what I mean? Like men will
Mhm.
toss women away. But I
Mhm.
think I guess I honestly didn't consider, especially in my 30s, because that's when all this was happening.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily consider that to be an option,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And also, I will say this. Um, I really admire you for like living your truth, but I knew where I was in Michigan with my family who practically disowned me for getting divorced in the first place, like, and my young kids, I could never even have gone there. You know what I mean? Not fully. I would be like taking just too much of a risk. If I had already gone through it with my marriage, with my family, with like the way it was. And so, I was just like, that can't be part of what you think about.
I mean, there's something to chosen family and losing family, but yeah, I always say this is not for the faint of heart
Yeah.
because this
Yeah.
stuff it's really tough.
And I was really broken during that time. In my 30s, I was an extremely broken person it was so difficult for me to make that decision to get divorced to start off with, and just live like as a single person. it
Yeah.
was it was treated like I am being the most selfish, most evil,
It's
most
terrible.
horrible person because my ex-husband didn't do anything to me, right? Like he didn't beat me, he didn't cheat on me, he was a good dad, all that stuff. Oh, even thinking about it now, I'm just like, oh my God, that was such a bad time.
Yeah, it's so brutal. I mean, I lived through very much the same. We lived together for 3 years going through the divorce, and it was litigious divorce. And I was the worst person in the world, and he was the best person in the world, and he
Yeah.
did nothing to
Mhm.
me, and it was all my fault. And like his family
Yeah,
stopped talking to me, and
me too.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's just so wild to me to even think about how, and I know this is probably still very much how it is, but this idea of like marriage as this holy thing. I mean, it's like
I
a
know.
freaking piece of paper. It's a legal contract. That's what it is. Like you
Right.
could have everything in a relationship without that piece of paper. It means you're
Right.
legally bound to somebody. That's what it means. Like it drives me nuts.
And I was so shocked that they cared. you know what like that they cared so much to like fully disown me, and that my own mom and whatever, she was about to disown me. And I'm like, wait, why do you care? Like my parents were divorced, like we had other family members all divorced. And I was like, all of a sudden you care about what I do? Like, why? And it just blew my mind. I I was so blindsided by the fact that so many other people gave a shit
Yeah,
about,
well, it's
you know.
stigma. It's a stigma. And like, my parents didn't want to tell any of their friends that I was divorced. So when I would run into their friends, they would continually ask me about my husband. I was like, I'm divorced and I'm gay, but they're still asking me about my husband because my parents didn't want to tell them
Oh,
because
wow.
it's so stigmatizing.
It's crazy. I can't imagine caring, like with my daughters now, like I just good, like if you're not
Exactly.
happy, move
Yes.
on.
Yes.
So weird. So, but back to that time, that was my hedonistic heyday of absolute craziness. And I had a lot of fun. I also had a lot of bad things, like I had a lot of like bad encounters with men and like scary encounters and
Mm.
all of that stuff. I wasn't necessarily always putting myself in the safest situations, but I largely hated myself for what I had just gone through. And I also hated how I was behaving in a lot of ways, but I also couldn't stop myself because I'm like a raging hedonist, like I'll drink all the champagne and eat all the oysters and, fuck everybody who wants to. So,
Yeah. And
it's so,
I just want to say also, I think, it sounds like you had a lot of different experiences. You certainly had a lot of different sexual experiences. You had sexual experiences also with women. And it sounds like all of those experiences were sexual in nature. Like the connection piece was a sexual connection
yes,
that you did not experience what it's like to fully be with a woman, because there's so much more to being with a woman than just the sexual piece. I mean, that is a piece, but there's
right,
so much more. So you have like
right.
one slice of the pie of the woman, and there's so much more. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I only had like when I was very young, when I was 19, I hooked up with a girlfriend of mine who was like a friend first, and we were friends, and then we ended up fooling around like college style, And and I think I would, and this is going to sound rude probably, but I always thought of all of those party years and all of that stuff. Like women themselves are like party favors, like
Hmm.
this is like party favor behavior,
Yes.
like somebody brings, the Everclear or something, like this is when you get wild. And
Yes.
I always felt very guilty about that. Like it was fun, but I felt it was wrong. Even though everybody was down, like we're all having a good time.
Yeah.
I think I just think that behavior felt very male coded,
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's like very
Yeah.
patriarchal. It's like women
Yes.
are objects. Women are like, I call it like seeing women as like a sex toy, basically. It's like something to have
Hmm.
fun sex with, but that's it. And then you can just toss it away.
Yep.
And I encounter lots of people who say that they think they might be bisexual, and they really just want to like have sex with a woman, but nothing else. And look, there are plenty of places to do that in the world. I mean, that does exist.
Hmm.
And I also think that's okay if that's what you want to experience, and that's about your sexuality and whatnot. But also, it's very male oriented. It's like the
Yep.
way men see women. So
Yep.
now that's the internalized male gaze. That's how you're looking at the woman. And, yeah.
What is that? What is that just like the end result of like being a woman in patriarchy? Like
Yes.
we can't
100%.
help it. It's from the media that we've consumed our whole lives, or like,
I think it's the conditioning. It's many, many layers of conditioning coming from everywhere. And I think in order to exit that, you have to do some really deep work to see it. We have parts of ourselves that function in these ways from the conditioning, and we have to like see these parts and be able to soften them enough to actually act differently. Then you throw in compulsory heterosexuality, which creates homophobia, which creates internalized homophobia, which is
Mm-hmm.
layers and layers and layers and layers. It's just like there's so much internal work that needs to happen to not function in that lens anymore, to like change your lens. Like it's a lot of work to change your lens, but it's absolutely from so much conditioning from everywhere, media, TV, books, movies, friends, society, like, your parents, your family, the generations before, like whatever. It's just so deeply conditioned. But, women have so much more to offer, they have so much more to offer.
Right. And it's funny because like I have the best girlfriends in the world. Like my friends and I, we have been through like so much together, and we are true ride or die in a way that no man has ever been.
Yep.
And my daughters are the same with their friends. And then
Yep.
like men have just shown over and over again how they can just take and never give at the level that a woman will give to another woman. And it is so odd to me that even being the person that I am, who has been, open to different sexual experiences, I I can't marry those two. I like I like try. I'm always like I always say I got to try on a whole bunch of hats, like I'm just trying on hats and trying on hats. Like with my second husband, for example, he was just like a wild guy who I just love. Like he was my best friend. He made me laugh. He was crazy. He was great. That's why we ended up getting divorced, because he was just too he actually had like problems.
Yeah.
So but
Uh,
at the time, I was just like, oh, we had so much fun together, and we would just have a great time at all times. And I'm like, oh, this must be what love is, right? Because you're just like having a good time. And it turns out that no, love is not just having a fucking great time at all times. Whoops, that's what I thought.
how long did that
And so
last?
Oh, not long. We met the week after I turned 40, and then we ended up getting married and divorced by the time I was 47.
Okay.
So, and we dated for a good couple of years, before we
Mhm.
got married. And it was obviously like COVID that, put the nail in the coffin, as it did for a lot of people. Like I am nothing but a cliche, like cliche. And so, but that was like, it was rough when it was happening, but it was nowhere near like the heart wrenching freak out that the father of my children
The first one,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. And then since then, yeah. So in that time, I've been 100% celibate, but also I have just been kind of going through it. Like I had a breast reduction right after that. And then I had a whole ton of fibroid tumors. So, like, almost 2 years ago, I had a hysterectomy. So I keep thinking, like, this body needs to be like FDA cleared for like human consumption if I'm ever put myself out there again. I can't believe who I used to be. And I still have hormones. My hormones are actually fine. They left the ovaries in, whatever.
Okay.
That I can't believe who I used to be is the bottom line. I can't believe I was a person who was so consumed with, this hedonistic lifestyle. And now I'm just shit talking on a podcast, do my little TikToks, going to work.
Yeah, but
My
you're
kids,
fulfilled. You're fulfilled, no?
yes, maybe I do feel, as somebody who was always in a relationship, like
Mhm.
I never cheated. I was very like serial. I think you've said this about
Serial
yourself too.
monogamous.
Like, yeah, serial monogamous. Um, but always in a relationship.
Mhm.
And back then, feeling a bit of that hectic scariness if I wasn't in a relationship. And now I'm like, don't anybody come near me. But I also feel sad about that. I feel sad about the prospect of like never having sex again, never like making out again, like all of these things that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And now they're just done. That seems weird.
Right. I mean, it certainly sounds like it's, within your like wheelhouse of choice here. Like, if you're done. And I know the way that you've done it historically was like feeding something clearly in you and did not work. I'm going to say,
Right.
in some way it didn't work because it left you feeling a lot of, I mean, look, you had a lot of pleasure, but you also had a lot of pain. And I guess that's life, right? I mean, we have both. Like, you can't just have the pleasure without the pain. We get a whole mixed bag, but like, it's up to you. Like, you get to choose if you want to engage, and you don't have to engage the way you always have. Maybe you could engage differently now.
I don't even know what that would look like. And maybe that's it as well. Like I know there's absolutely no way on earth that I would ever date a man again. I just
Okay.
that is over. And my friends and my family, they're all so well-meaning, and my mom is always like, you have to keep your heart open, for the Lord or whatever.
Oh God.
I'm just like, I'm good. And because she's like, that's what she does, even though my mom has been single since I was 17, but she has an open heart, and she's like, you're just not open. And I'm like, I don't think I am. Maybe the shop is closed, but at the same time,
I think it's closed for renovations. It feels like it's closed for renovations.
I like that. I like clothes for renovations under new ownership.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it's like, yeah, like the way that business was being run, we went under. We went under more than once. We went bankrupt.
Well, exactly. I've had a closeout sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Chapter 11, chapter 13.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think that that's maybe it. Like the last time I made out with anyone was my friend's girlfriend at like in a hot tub. And it's always like that though. I love that. But at the same time, am I just a terrible person, to be like, I just want that. I feel like that makes me a bad person. I will say that.
To enjoy that, or to want that, or that's
To
all that it
basically
is.
only want that, like in a lot of ways, like to be like, you know what, I don't want to be like male like that, where it like what we were just talking about. I think it's bad. I think that people get hurt, and I also like it is just weird. I know that the whole premise here is unbox yourself.
Well,
So
I think,
I'm like
yeah.
unboxing that.
No, I think that there's a lot of different layers to that, right? Because I think, if we just look at it for what that particular scene, if we just imagine that scene of like you in a hot tub, and like, there's this other woman who you find attractive, and like somehow you guys end up making out, and like it's very pleasurable for both of you. Like, that in and of itself, there's really nothing wrong with that. That is not like, it's not like bad or wrong. It's pleasure. That's all that is. It's like a moment of pleasure. Oh, how nice. You had a moment of pleasure. I think where it gets more complicated is that it sounds like you've had some feelings of like curiosity beyond that. Like, even though, but you have parts of you that are like, shut that shit down. Like that, like, you're not going there. Like, you will lose everybody. This is not for you. And so, because of what I describe, which is compulsory heterosexuality, which causes homophobia for the general population, which then creates internalized homophobia. That's this part that I'm talking about. That's like, you're not going there. That's your own internalized homophobia that comes from your queerphobic conditioning that we all have. That's, I think, where you end up feeling like, this doesn't feel great to me. Like, if it were just like, I don't know, like there's nothing wrong with like a moment of pleasure out in the wild. You know what I mean?
I do. I definitely think though that my idea about it has changed from the time when I was in my 30s, before I met my second husband. And now this is what I wouldn't be able to take. And it's going to sound really lame, but like if I came home with a girlfriend, my entire family would be like, we fucking knew it. All that, like, because that is what they would say. They would be like, told you, like, because I'm the only one who's been married twice, divorced twice. They all know that I'm like a bit wild, and I wouldn't be able to take their, oh god, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be able to take it because they would be so smug.
And then what would that, I mean, what would that, like, okay, so they've had these thoughts and now
Oh,
here
for
you
sure.
are. Now here you
My
are.
first ex-husband, he had told them all I was gay. My first ex-husband told everybody I was gay because he knew about my past,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even though I was like, there is nothing that would make that, I don't have a relationship with a woman, like he just knew about my party past. And so I think that is, my family's waiting for it, I will say.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to,
Yeah.
there's something about like, then you'd be proving them right. And then what? Like, then what does that mean? What would that
Well,
mean about you? Like,
I don't know. I guess, I guess it would just that I missed out on a lot, maybe, or that they
the
were right all
grief.
along, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have never. I have to admit, I haven't
You
let
haven't
myself think
gone
that
there.
far.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's, I think this, as I said, it kind of comes down like it's like a block. And I think
Okay.
that, one of the things I can say right off the top of my head is what you said, which is this, then I have to feel kind of like the sadness of like all the time that's gone by where I didn't do this. Like I didn't follow these kind of feelings that I had because I was stopped by this part of me. And there's so much grief and there's so much grieving. I mean, there's the excitement, which is like off the charts, and the excitement of like really fully being able to be who you are in this way. But then there's also so much grief and there's no way to get through this process without, when it's later, the grief is just part of the process. And honestly, grief is just
Mhm.
also part of life. Like you said, when you think of like, what am I never going to make out with another person again? Like I'm never going to have sex with another person again. It's like sad,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like really, it's like sad. It's like there's loss in that. Like, oh God, I'm like losing this part of myself or like way of experiencing myself. This is really sad. So I think
Mhm.
it could bring up those same kind of feelings for you. Cause I feel like, I don't know. It's like, yeah. So your parents are like, or your family's all like, yeah, we knew all along. And it's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, okay. So like
I know
if
it's
you,
so weird.
yeah, it's like,
I am so unbothered by anything else that they think about me,
yeah,
but I think but I also think that I have been so bothered by all the things that they think about me that I, over time,
yeah.
that I don't want them thinking about me.
Well,
I don't want them to have
that's your piece of work. That's definitely, that's where you need to unbox is right there. Because first of all, we have no control over what anybody thinks of us. Like, and
true.
to try to live in a way where we do means we're not living authentically. Like, cause 10 people, however you're living, 10 people lined up, they will have 10 different ideas about you, you can't control it's in their mind. It has to do with their conditioning, how they grew up. Like none of it is within your control. So if we live a life where we're trying to control what other people think about us, which granted, as young kids we do because we need to be taken care of and we need to survive basically. So we need our parents to like want to take care of us. We need to be lovable in some way. But as adults, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you. If you are happy, if you feel content with where you are and what you're doing, 500 people can hate it. 500 people could like it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not living it.
Right.
It's just you.
Right. Yeah. And I think that like I had said, when I divorced my first husband, got so hit by the surprise of realizing that they were so invested in my relationship that I wasn't even aware, that
Yeah.
they would have any kind of feeling about it. Especially because they didn't live in the state. It was very confusing.
Yeah,
And then,
but I think that that's a sign that it was about them. Like your divorce, it wasn't that they were so invested in the relationship. They were not invested in the relationship. They were
no.
invested in you as a family member being a married woman. And now you are a divorced woman. And that is a
Yeah.
stigma in our society that they now carry
Mm,
with them. That's what they were upset about. And they were
mm,
worried.
mhm.
You're a single woman in the world. Oh my, what's going to happen to you now?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't care. And it is weird that I do. I will say, because like I generally don't care about most everything else. But for me, it's just like it just feels like a raw nerve, I guess, still.
Yeah.
Like
And on this piece, and it's like this piece is like a specific raw nerve which I
yes.
think is probably also steeped in, all of these layers of conditioning that we get. Like it is not easy to unbox yourself out of there.
So if I did want to explore, because I think when I texted you the first time, or maybe not, maybe it was the second time, um, I had told you about the woman I met on the train. Did I tell you about her?
I think you
So
mentioned something.
our train broke because I live in Providence and I take the MBTA to Boston and these freaking things break nonstop. And that particular day on the way to work, the train tracks had actually caught fire.
Oh
So
my
we were
God.
like stuck forever. And it was on the way back that I treated myself and took the Amtrak instead, because I was so mad and that train broke because they like hit a deer or something like that. So
Oh
anyway,
my gosh.
we all get off the train and because we didn't know what was going to happen. And I ended up talking to this very tall, blonde woman who was she was young too. And this is where I get even weirder. Like, I feel like this is inappropriate. And so she was probably like early 30s. And I talked to this woman and I was just like, I'll go anywhere you go, is how I felt. Like, and I was like, how do I, like, I was like, how do I get to sit next to her? But like, we didn't sit next to each other or anything. And this was like last summer. It was a while ago. And, I've never saw, I was like, I wonder if I'll ever see her again. And I won't because like she was there in Boston from New York, like whatever. And I still remember all this stuff though. And so I'm just like, but also that was probably inappropriate because she's young, she's like 30 something. And, she was probably just a regular lady. She probably had a husband at home. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. And, I don't know. I've just felt wildly inappropriate ever since for even like letting my mind go there.
Yeah.
Cause,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I
So
mean,
what's
I feel
that?
like I feel like that's just that to me is like the universe dropping you a little sign that like, it's just this little thing that like lights you up, like thinking about her lights you up. Like, okay, she's younger. I mean, I don't know, like maybe she's straight, maybe she's married. None of it matters. But the fact that she caught your
I
attention
think it
to the
matters. Yeah.
well, I mean, does it matter like for what this is I'm talking about? I don't think it really
Oh no, just
matters.
this idea in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's actually like a feeling that you got, which was like, I would follow you anywhere. Like, how can I sit next to you? I've felt like that with people too, so I totally get it. It's like, oh my God, like, how am I ever going to see that person again? I
Yeah.
think you listened to the episode with Sophia, and I saw this woman in Lowe's, and she had like a big cart. She was like a
Yes. Yes.
construction, and I was just like, I was checking out, and I'm like, shit, like, how am I ever going to see this woman again? She left like one of those
And
imprints on me.
your guest, she was so like, oh, she had all these lines and
Oh yeah.
moves, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's
impressive.
not me. That's not me. She is impressive in that way. She does have all the lines and moves, but I also just feel like, I don't know. I can't imagine that you would have ever seen a guy and had any of those feelings where you're still thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's like the universe
Right.
dropping you a little clue. It's like, it doesn't matter like who she was, what her age was, what her status is. This is about you and how you felt, and that you still think about that moment because it lit something
Mhm.
up in you. That's what that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
It
what
was,
that is.
yeah. It's like a little
Yeah.
like, wake up, like, like this could be you, not with her per se, but just like this feeling is like there. It is there, you know?
Yeah. And so now I'm just like, oh my God. I feel like like I said, I think we started off talking about how I just feel like it would be, I don't know, is it inappropriate to like go out and flirt? Or I don't even know. I'm so lost. Like I wouldn't even know what to do or how to act.
Yeah.
And again, because here's the thing, I don't necessarily love being the initiator either, you know?
Hmm.
So then I can just like stay inside my house.
Yeah. I mean, but I honestly, I don't know if there are any like lesbian or like queer places near you where you could actually go out.
I think there's definitely stuff in Boston, and they do some pop-up stuff here in Providence. But and there are some places, but I've not gone because I would also be there by myself, which is also not my
Uncomfortable.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I hear you. I mean, I still think it could be kind of interesting to like go get a drink like in Boston at like a lesbian bar and just make a pact with yourself when you go in that you're not going to, I mean, you can initiate conversation with people, but like you're not going to like initiate an attraction and just kind of, I mean, honestly, I do think women would probably approach you if you're in a lesbian bar. Like, I do think that they would approach you. I mean, it's safe when you're in a lesbian bar. It's safe to
Yeah.
approach a woman. Like, that makes it safe.
Mm.
I think that could be interesting for you. And it does sound like that does feel kind of like your next chapter to me, but it does also feel like you have some work to do
Oh
on
yeah, I think so.
just,
I definitely
yeah.
do. My one of my best girlfriends, she just went through a divorce and stuff, and she immediately started dating again, kind of like what I did when I
Mm-hmm.
divorced my first husband.
Mm-hmm.
And she's younger than me. She's like 9 years younger than me. And I just look at her and I'm like, oh, you're so not ready. Like this is not a good idea. And I think I've been in the place now since I split up with my ex 4 years ago, and I've just been
You.
alone. And I've gone through a lot. Like I can't say I've gone through grief of that relationship. I
Mhm.
definitely did. I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
But I think I've like the surgeries and whatever, and I moved from Michigan to the East Coast, and my kids are out of the house and all this stuff, and I haven't been feeling great about myself, like about how I look and being older and, just all of that. Like I said, I was joking around about like getting my body FDA cleared, but I also kind of feel like that might be true.
Well, and I also want to say that we're back now. We've got the lens back on of the male gaze.
Yeah. Yep. You're
That is
not
right
wrong.
back to the male gaze. I mean,
You are not wrong.
because, I mean, while yes, you are a beautiful woman, but if you were going to be, wanted by a woman, she would want more than just that. Like, that's nice, but it's like, I mean, like the one woman that I was like the most in love with of all my partners, she had a double mastectomy. She had like when she had that done, she had a tummy tuck. So she had like a lot of like scarring and all of that stuff. Like, I did not see any of it. None of it. I was like so in love with this person and like so attracted to this person. Like, that did not even enter into I didn't see it.
And what's interesting about that is that if I think about anyone I've ever been with, n- like n- like sexually, you have to say, because that's when you see all the scars and all this stuff, right? Like the physical form. Anyone I've ever been with in my life, nobody has been perfect or an Adonis or like a Venus or literally anything. But I put all that on my, like, I'm
Right.
like, you are not fit for consumption, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a me
Well,
problem because I'm more than willing.
that's your internalized misogyny. That's
Yeah,
in the
it
second
is.
phase of my program, unboxing
It
your
sure
internalized
is.
misogyny. I mean, yeah.
Sure
So
is.
that has to also, I mean, yeah, you know.
Yep. And it's not getting any better because I'm just rapidly aging. So-
Yeah, I'm right with you. I mean, I'm 57 and I'm just like, okay.
Wait, really? I would have thought you were younger than me.
Nope.
Honestly, you've got
Nope.
amazing skin.
Oh, thank you. I walked into the grocery store the other day and the cashier, she put on her glasses and she looked at me really up close and she goes, "Are you a senior?" I was like, "Do I look like a senior?" I was like, "No, I'm still in my 50s." So, I think if your heart were to open, like your mom says, I do think that the universe is like kind of sending you some messages about what it might be open to. And I think that there's like the windows of your heart are like fogged up with this patriarchal bullshit.
Hmm. And that's what I'll tell my mom. If it comes up, I'll be like, oh, hey, you told me to keep my heart open, Mom. And this is what walked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I would tell her.
And
That's
at the end
good.
of the
I like
day,
that.
I have seen like the most homophobic and the most racist and all of it family members come around. They come
Oh,
around,
really?
like really come around because it's like at the end of the day, they just want you to be happy. Unless it's like, unless we're talking about like evangelical Christianity or like any of these
Right.
fundamental Baptist or whatever, we're talking about like, yes, people want you to be happy. Like that's what they care about.
It's true. That is true.
Well, it has been quite a pleasure. I really appreciate you sharing so much of your story, and this piece that you're kind of like tugging back and forth with is really common. Like you're not alone with that.
Is it?
There are so many women that I don't think they're actually tugging as much. Like you're kind of like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I mean, yeah, I have women that do also that have had those thoughts. Like it's not okay to have sexual feelings about women because then I'm objectifying them and that doesn't feel good. Right. So it gets so confusing in our
Mhm,
heads, like
mhm.
what is actually happening here. But I've definitely encountered so many women who also just want to have sex with women. Like I've got my man, but like I just want to have sex with a woman. And also like I want to say, because I'm a very open person, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because people get pleasure in all different ways. So if that gives you pleasure and it's consensual and that woman is into it, awesome. Like that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And women have so much more to offer than just that. And being
Mhm.
in a relationship, just like you talk about how amazing like your girlfriends are and whatnot, but like being in a relationship with a woman where it's like you have the friendship piece and you have the sexual piece, it is like unbelievable. It is beyond your wildest imagination.
It is because I can't imagine. I was just going to say that. Like that seems amazing because I will be honest. All the relationships I've ever had with men, I've never loved the entire thing. That's why I'm divorced. That's why I broke up with every single boyfriend I ever had. Like I never. I was like this ain't it. Like I'm
Yeah.
giving way more than you are. Like like you're expecting shit that I don't want to do. Like the whole big picture was always bad
Yeah.
in the end,
Yeah.
which is crazy because it's not supposed to be, or at least that's what we think.
Well, that's what we're
So
told and that's what we're sold, right? But with
yeah,
a woman, you can make it whatever it is, you want an equal relationship, it's an equal relationship. Like you talk it out. Women know how to talk about stuff, you talk
that's
stuff
true.
through. Yeah. And the friendship and then the lovership on top, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't say enough good things. So I am over here really hoping for you. I'm sending you all the good energy. And I'm here if you ever
I
need to do
appreciate
any
it.
specific unboxing or you have like questions, do it, do it, do it, do it. You're only 51. You have so many more years left. Like, oh, I'm cheering you on.
I'm so happy that I'm not the only one. That's honestly why I
Oh
came
my
on,
God.
because I did want to hear that, like I talk amongst my friends and they're like, okay, you're wild, but yeah, so that makes me feel good.
Oh my God, you're not. I mean, I hear so many people that have similar stories to you.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
I
you are
feel
not
bad for
alone.
them, but also glad I'm not alone.
Yes, and you can also you could pull out ahead into a different storyline. So,
Sounds good.
all right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been really a
Okay.
pleasure.
It was really great to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?